Um, I just got myself up, y'all, but I don't know what happened. My voice like dropped, okay? Um, I don't know if it's because I was outside all night or what, but my voice has dropped. Um, but today I wanted to talk about a little bit about my mom. So I went and all the recordings that I have on here about my mom. I don't show you guys all of the recordings. Um, some of it is for confidentiality. Other times it's just a lot of things that are not necessary to always show because it doesn't have like really good informational things on it. Uh, but yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on my mom. So my mom, I called her, and the reason why I called her is because she had been out of it for a minute. The doctors had no, her case manager had said that they needed some important documents, and that they needed me to sign them, and that she wasn't taking her medication. So um with that, I was like, okay. And then they didn't send. They said they was gonna send the information, but they hadn't. They said they was gonna send a doctor to. No, when I contacted them back, they said they were gonna. They had to get the doctor to sign, and then they were gonna send it over. So I've yet to even receive it or anything like that. So um, yeah, I told my aunt about that, which I was kind of a little bit fearful. I don't know why I was fearful of telling my aunt that because, um, well, yes I am because sometimes she's a little weird with um going in and uh, getting the information. She'll be kind of hot and cold with it, and I know that she has other things to do with her life too. But yeah, it got me a little antsy, but I told her anyway, just to have some kind of support going through this. Um, and then next thing I know, she said that my mom had called her and was telling her that she's all right, but she was very slow to speaking. So I was like, well, then if they were saying that she hasn't taken her medication and she's in that facility, they legally are able to administer. Uh, it's not like a shelter. So, like a shelter can't force you to take the medication. What they would do is call the hospital, call the behavioral health, and put them in there. But since she's in, uh, excuse me, she's in the mental state hospital, she is able, they are able to administer it when she gets out of control. That is why she's there. Um, So they would have to. The only thing they would have to do, they would have to wait before they give. They would have to wait until she just goes out into a psychosis, then to stabilize her and to get the medication, which is 10 times worse. If you have anyone who has a mental health illness or anything like that, I'm not always saying it's always best to have medication, but if that's the route that has been chosen for them and that they're willing to work on, because if you have a mental health issue and you don't want to be on medication, that does not mean that it doesn't take work. It takes more work to not have it. I've seen people who not had medication, and for a couple of years, some decades, and they're fine, but they do a lot of work, meaning mental, spiritual, and physical work, so that they are at the optimum peak. Like they're able to function. Um, but majority of the times people will take medication. So if that's the regimen and that's the path that you've taken, just understand that um that is going to take a lot of work, and to come off of a medication of any kind can leave some setbacks, especially if you're dealing with some kind of mental instability. um So when that happens, they have to stabilize them. So the best thing to do is just to keep them regularly on their meds. Um, so when I got finished talking to my aunt and she was saying that she was fine, I was like, okay, well maybe she's ready to talk. So I waited another week, and I called, and they're like, okay, well she's coming. I'm giving her the phone right now. Blah blah blah. Whoop de whoop. Right. So um. As I get the phone, she's like, she sounds in her right mind, and she says, "You just won't stop, won't you? Will you?" So, with that, I said, "Okay, now I know that even though she is very unstable, even though I know that she's unstable, what she is saying to me is very intentional. What she is saying to me is very intentional, that she does not want to stay with me. She will do anything she can to stay away, unless she thinks she can get herself out of that situation." Now, that might sound hurtful. It sounded hurtful for a little bit, but I started coming to that conclusion when I had a discussion with my aunt and my mom states that because she had me over control of her finances, and she's like, well, pull this out and pay for this and do this, and I need you to do this, and that she gets up and she says that she's gonna make my life suffer like her life suffers. And I'm like, what? Like, why would you say that? And she's like, oh, I'm just kidding. Don't you know I'm gonna trap you? And then she's like, don't you know I'm gonna trap you? But she said, I'm kidding. So I sat there and I was like, is she going? Like, what the heck? My aunt's like, no, she's just going in and out. But that always just stuck in my head until this last time, these last couple of times when I talked to her. Um, excuse me. Dealing with people who have mental illness, it's not always the peachy, creamy things that you see on TV and some of the brutal things. Yes, there are a lot of people who have been abused by this policy. There are a lot of people who will get people. I've seen that happen, and they went through very traumatic experiences because at the hands of some evil person telling them that they're this bad person, they're that they shouldn't have been there. But in other cases, I see that a lot of those cases are not it. Some of these people are very um, manipulative, and although they have a mental illness and sometimes they're in and out, that doesn't exclude someone's personality. You know, um, another instance behind that, when my mother got locked up, and this is why I'm bringing it up. When my mother got locked up the last time before she went to the mental hospital, and she had went to jail. I did not want her in jail, and they gave her a high bond. And the reason why I did not want her in jail is because in jail, if they don't really have all your charts, you don't get the necessary tools that you need to make it in a jail or a prison facility. You don't get that. Okay, so my goal, which I did have a plan in play, is that she ended up for her to get help and assistance and to actually get out of that city and to come into this city because they have more help with mental illness. So that if she did have an episode like this, that she could be in a confined space where she could get the necessary tools to recover. Unfortunately, well, I won't say unfortunately because everything happens for a reason. Unfortunately, she did not, once she got out, she did not make her quota. She did not make her she didn't make what she said, she didn't follow what she said. So which ended up having her in more of a psychotic space, and ended up getting her arrested again. And then that time they ended up transporting her and taking her to the mental facility. And this is one of the reasons why I've been so oh, my voice is coming back. It sounds better. I've been so reluctant to take her out. If they was to say that she was ready, she was okay to go somewhere and free to go, yes, I would have her to come to my home so she can get transported to a spot here. But because she was in that facility, as I stated before, I was not going to move her as long as she's safe. And then I'm doing the medical things that they messed up on, because a lot of those things, going to the hospital, those things, they didn't have their paperwork or any of that together. And I've seen that. I've worked in facilities. I work in a facility where we just had an issue that was similar like that, y'all. Like, I can't give out names or anything, but it was a very near life experience, and things were not, it wasn't right. I'll say that. So I've had those experiences. I've been in those difficult situations, and I know that things can happen. So I always still try to touch bases with my mom and care for her, and things that make sure that she's in a safe environment. And even though she has a mental illness, that she's taken care of. Yeah, but as far as all the her getting out and all the other stuff, I really, at this point, I feel like I'm going to let her sit in there until she realizes that or that when she's really willing and able to try to make a difference. Oh, I forgot to tell you, that's what I was talking about, y'all. I was drifting off a little bit. So her fiance, before she ended up getting locked up, it was a guy. I forgot his name, but he had called and said that, he was looking for her, he couldn't find her, blah blah this, and that he needed to check up on her. He went to see if we saw her, whatever. So she ended up, the first time she ended up, because she was off her medicine before she got locked up the second time, she ended up getting in trouble there. And oh, no, that was the last time before the last time. So y'all, and it's a history. They always have like some kind of, yeah. So she stops taking the medication. She talks to the guy and tells the guy, because her fiance is looking at her like, what is going on? Like, is she okay? He was like, she would just go into the room and not say anything, right? So I'm like, okay, so if she was doing that, then she's about to have a psychotic episode. I was telling him that. So he's like, I've never seen anything, because he never experienced mental health and mental illness. And he's like, she is so loving. She's so this and that. And I just wondered why, like, and he never met, her family, anything like that, like never. And we just heard about him. Like, I just heard about him because my mom used to talk about him a lot. If y'all see this up, I literally had took it up and I was about to go to sleep. Well, I went to sleep just like that. So, um, anywho, so I remember when she was going, he kept saying the last time before he saw her, he asked her, was she okay? And, was there anybody to call? And he said he was about to call me because she was talking about me. And she told him, if you call Belle, then I'm never speaking to you again. I'm not talking to you again. Never call her. And I was like, why would she tell him that? Like, and he was like, he didn't call me. He ended up calling my aunt and then calling me later when he couldn't, get in contact with him. And it brought me to this conclusion too, like, for people who have this issue, because I know there are a lot of children that are going through stuff like this, and why are my parents like this? Is there something wrong with me? Things like that. I used to have those issues because you're like, why am I, and people treat you different because of it. And you just ask yourself, there's nothing wrong with you. That's their whole ordeal. You had nothing to do with it. But the reason why I'm saying this is because I understand that you cannot help people who do not want to be helped. And you cannot hold your life back. You cannot hold your life back for anyone else or for what anyone else wants to say about you because of your viewpoints and your standpoints, on it. I will say I love my mother, but I am smart enough to know that God wants us to use our time diligently. We all have time on this earth for a reason, and you should not, just like everyone else, you should not give your energy towards people. And I'm not saying just because they have a mental health issue. You should not give your energy towards people who do not receive it and who do not want the help, okay? You cannot help someone who does not want help, okay? You will be wasting your time. You will be casting your pearls against swine. Now, some people are going to get mad at me because I said this, okay? I had some family members who got upset when I said this. And it's told me that I was not Christian-like, and that's okay because that's their viewpoint. Everyone's entitled to have their viewpoint, just like I have my viewpoint. My viewpoint on this topic was that, I had a traumatic ordeal myself, just navigating through life. Nothing new about that. Doesn't mean that I can't hold other people's burdens, but I understand that load that I'm carrying about my mom, she has to take responsibility for that. She has to take that time and that responsibility for that. And a lot of the things, I'm going to be honest, a lot of the things that my mom has done, even in her, when she's healthy, she will inspire me. She will say nice things. But I've always noticed that when things get really, really good for me, she would get very much upset. That's why I didn't tell her, that I wasn't a pageant or anything like that, because although she wanted me to do those things, I don't think she really wanted me to win. So, I have to give my time and energy to people that need it and that want it. There are so many people who need it and want it. And when you turn your mind and your perspective to that, you come out with better outcomes. That's just like you dating someone who does not respect you, someone who doesn't like you. And if you've been in these situations and you grew up in a situation like that where people are not giving you the right kind of love and affection that you desire and you need, and you really need, especially those fundamental things when you need as a kid, and you have to always, and I'm not saying turning the other cheek is bad, but when your needs is getting to the point where you're not just turning the other cheek, you're making your needs and wants less than someone else's, and you're constantly putting your needs at the bottom of the totem pole, it will mess you up. You will live in the state of regret, anger, and bitterness. And I don't want to be that. I've seen a lot of people who've done that in the name of love when it's really in the name of stupidity, in the name of sacrifice. And it's not, that's not what God wants us to do. Yes, we have to sacrifice certain things, but we all have that opportunity to choose what we want. And once you choose that, you know, um, you have to allow that process to go. Someone else can choose not to be around you. They could choose that they don't want to have anything to do with you, even though you could be the most helpful, the best thing that they probably need, something that they really need. But if they don't want it, you can't give it, you can't force it to them. They're not going to receive it. Even if you try to force it down their throat, they're not going to receive it. You have to let those things be as they are. And if they come around, then you have the opportunity. Doesn't mean that you sit there and you wait around for for things to change all the time. Sometimes you do. And that's even in mental health issues. Sometimes you do, but other times you have to leave those things where they are. Leave them where they are. Um yeah. So yeah, and when I told one of my family members, I was like, they just like, oh yeah, well you just gotta stick by them, stick by her and constantly call her and pray for her. And I was like, no, I'm not calling her anymore. I'm gonna let the ball go in her court. If she can call you, then she can call me. That same way you need to give her that space. And I know, she got really upset about that. But I was like, that's your view. My view is I'm not going to put any more energy into it because this year it's starting out to be one of the best years of my life, and I don't want to miss things or take my energy off of things that I cannot change in order for someone else um in order to help someone else that don't want to be helped, so um with that, I've decided not to call her. I have decided, well, I already did the packaging and stuff for her what she's getting for her like clothing and things like that. So I've already have those things already. So I'm going to excuse me. I'm going to send those things off again and leave it for what it is. I can't put any more energy in it, in that situation or that scenario anymore. So yeah. So that's the end of dealing with my mom. Um yeah, I'm gonna get off of here. Hopefully something I said or done will help you on your journey. Please stay tuned to Journey to Jerusalem. Bye. Okay, it's not going. Maybe it's just gonna stay.